Chapter 10, 7:45 a.m. Jade made her way to the kitchen to get a glass of water, and Alex stared at the snow-spattered window. This was gonna get worse. I opened up the fireplace's glass doors and threw the last 3 pine cones on top of the crumbling fire. At least they'd keep the fire burning brightly for a little while longer. The radio was calling to me. I needed to know exactly what was happening. I'm going to get more ibuprofen. Back in a sec. I headed downstairs, taking care not to appear rushed. Maybe I'd misheard, and there was no blizzard warning, or it had been a radio play like the War of the Worlds broadcast that had freaked everyone out in the 1930s. But if the blizzard was real, we needed to be ready for the possibility of AJ and Nico coming back. They think we were easy targets stuck here. Just Alex and 2 scared girls. Well, we'd show them. I clung to that little bit of bravado while I sat on the floor of the master bedroom door locked, radio to my ear, ready to hear the worst. Emergency alert system. The National Weather Service has issued a blizzard warning for the following counties: Placer County, El Dorado County, Douglas County, Washoe County, and Carson City. I had no idea if we were even in one of those counties. Blizzard warning effect from October 26th, 600 hours to October 28th, 1900 hours. Avoid travel. Shelter in place. Crap. 3 days. The radio crackled with static. Power outage. Affect following counties. Radio channels. Snow. Emergency supplies. That was it. Only static. No matter how violently I twisted the turn dial, my mother and Oliver wouldn't be coming back. There wouldn't be power. We would be trapped with Alex and Otis, snowed in the cabin, running out of food and warmth. And what if AJ and Nico showed back up? All bravado had slipped away. Lottie! It was Alex standing right outside the door. Can I get a second of privacy? Of course he'd creep down to spy on me. I flushed the toilet and gave myself time to hide the radio in the wicker basket full of toilet rolls. I'd let them know about the blizzard soon as I found out what Alex was really doing here. He wiggled the door handle. I flung the door open. What the hell is your problem? What were you doing? He looked over my shoulder into the dark behind me. What do you think? It's the bathroom. And why were you following me down here? I thought you might be sick again. He frowned. What's wrong? You seem so angry. What's wrong? I know you weren't lost on your way back to your aunt's cabin. You had a key to this place, and you're pretending to like us. Pretending you're stuck here. Pretending to be oh so nice with your cute dog and fire-making skills. Making sure we're in your debt so I don't throw you out. What are you doing here? My voice shook at the end. He held up his palms. Hold on. You've got it so wrong. I leaned in and hissed. Oh, really? Got everything under control, have you? They won't know. Leave it to me. The furrow grew between his eyebrows. He took a deep breath. The thing is, before you deny everything, I saw you last night. I braced myself for his reaction. Jade's footsteps crossed the floor above us. We paused to follow them with our eyes. No shit, Sherlock. You're not exactly subtle about your Scrabble clues. He shook his head. Seriously, a couple guys got lost on the road. I go out to help them. You think that means I'm some kind of criminal? I glared at him. Who are they? Honestly, I don't know, Jade. I went out to help. I didn't want them to wake you and Jade. Lost once, okay. Twice, no way. They won't know. Leave it to me. That doesn't sound like lost. That sounds like they were expecting to find you here. He pulled himself taller, all angles and edges. You're so paranoid. What's it like not to trust anyone? His nose almost touched mine. Back the hell off. I inched toward the door. If your parents don't get back soon, I'll take my chances and leave, so you don't have to have me here anymore. He brushed the hair from his eyes. I only stayed to help you both while you were so out of it. I sighed. Okay, you did stay for that. I scratched my forehead. Something was still off. I don't get why you were so friendly with those guys if you don't even know them. Better to be friendly and helpful. Get them away as soon as possible and make them think there were a bunch of us staying here so they wouldn't come back. He gave a half smile like he knew he'd won over me. It sounded believable, but I knew he was wrong. Shadows whispered out through the dark, and sighs of the trees and the creaks of the floorboard and the persistent splatter of snow that wasn't going to stop anytime soon. How much longer are you going to wait for this ride? They weren't coming back. My lungs didn't work properly. It was just me and Jade and him. Like, what if you get snowed on with us? He shrugged. Then I'm screwed. He gave another half smile. There are worse people to get snowed in with. I don't know about that. He looked stunned. Look, it's not like you're Mr. Innocent. You had a key, and you've been staying here. You weren't lost. I raked my hands through my hair. I want to trust you, but nothing about you makes sense. Laddie, Jade shouted from the stairwell. A little help? Her footsteps started across the kitchen and back again. Hold on, I glared at Alex. I found your list. You've been sneaking through my backpack? You've been sneaking through our cabin. I don't know. I didn't know you'd be here. He tensed his jaw. Okay, you're right. I was taking Otis for a quick walk, and when I got back, it was still occupied. It's our cabin. You're the one who's not supposed to be here. I hugged myself. I was only staying a couple days. I wasn't doing any harm. I would never have stayed once I knew you were here. He jutted his jaw. Lottie, Jade yelled again. Coming, I yelled back. You tried to break in while we were here. I poked him in the chest. These things on your list, what are those? He leaned in, forehead against the window pane. Look, the owners wouldn't notice if stuff was missing for months. So many little empty vacation cabins, so much space and stuff, totally unused. It's all insured anyway, TVs, game systems. Not that I'd do that, but plenty of others around here would. Like those guys, they could have been scouting out empty cabins. Thin gray light protruded the space, making it feel even colder. My temples pulsed. So you do scout. So do you scout or steal? Now, Jade yelled. Jesus, just a minute. My head was going to explode. The wind thudded against the window, and the cold curled in under the panes. Something thudded on the floor above us, rolling into a halt. A strong, acid smell wove its way downstairs. Jade must be burning whatever she could find to make a fire. I could have stolen anything and snuck off while you were sleeping. My bag could be packed full of telescopes, but it wasn't, was it? I'm not the bad guy here. I glared at Alex as I tried to untangle my thoughts, reason against instinct. A shrill, beeping noise started up outside the door. What's that? Alex said. Smoke alarm? Fire! Jade screamed from upstairs. Otis barked, high and sharp. I threw open the bedroom door and stretched. The stench of smoke was sickening. You get Otis, I'll find Jade. A thick fume of smoke gathered at the top of the stairs. I didn't think. I raced towards it, taking the stairs 2 at a time. Alex was right behind me. Jade! I pulled up my t-shirt over my nose. My yells came out as muffled yelps. I couldn't see through this thick smoke, could only hear her coughing her lungs up. Oh shit, the pine cones. Smoke poured out of the fireplace. I'd left the doors open. Shit. I fought my way to her, crawling across the floor, staying low beneath the acid smoke, my elbows searing with heat. Don't die. Don't you dare die on me. Chapter 11, 8:21 a.m. I grabbed the feast blanket and threw it on top of the flames, breaking across the rug, dropping it just in time before the flames could reach my hands. Polyester and fire, not a good idea. The suede sofa ignited and became a blaze of bright orange flames, raced up the curtains, dancing along the wall and across the books up the ceiling. Jade banged on the French doors. She was on the deck outside, frantically waving the fire extinguisher at me. What the hell? I grabbed my sleeve and used it to yank open the back deck door. Smoke billowed out into the frosty air. I needed to get away from the smoke, she gasped. I grabbed her arm and pointed to the front door, or where I thought the door would be. Cover your mouth and nose. My words turned into coughs. My eyes watered like crazy. Jade froze in the middle of the room, wide-eyed at the destruction. I dragged her along, shuffling blindly through the smoke as fast as I could. The fire belched like an angry dragon from the fireplace, setting the cushions alight. I ducked as something fell from the ceiling, just missing my head. Come on, too late for that now. I pried the fire extinguisher from her hands, focused on the exit, the door. Stay low, don't breathe in the smoke. Keep going, we can make it. We have to make it. Coughing made my eyes blurry with tears. I squinted in the smoke. trying to see a way out. A blast of cold singled the way to the front door. I gripped Jade's hand, pulling her until we reached the outside and collapsed in the middle of her driveway. We gasped for breath. Snow clung to our faces. We were alive. We'd made it. Mom would kill me, but for now, I was alive and Jade was okay. Thank God. I put the fire extinguisher down by my feet. You okay? I asked, in between panting. She coughed too much to speak, but that came out was a wheeze. Smoke damaged already. She gave me a nod. Good. Better than nothing. I looked back at the cabin. Otis barked like crazy, refusing to leave the doorway. I tried to reassure him, pulling at his collar and finally managing to drag him to Jade. Hold on to Otis. You see Alex? Jade shook her head. Otis stayed by her side, whimpering with his tail between his legs as she continued to cough her guts out. Alex! Alex! I yelled, hoping to God he'd gone out the back. Alex! I waited for a moment, praying for an answer that didn't come. Stay here. I'll be right back. I did my best to sound calm. While inside, I was a nest of panicked wasps. I picked the extinguisher back up and stood at the door, blanching at the intense heat. I couldn't go back in. I didn't even know him, but I didn't want him to die. I had to try. I pulled my fleece off and drew my t-shirt over my nose, taking one more second to steady myself. Get in, get out. I took a deep breath and then completely covered my face with my shirt. Find Alex. Don't die. Fire up close is ferocious. Like giant waves of eye-smarting orange, sucking up all the sounds and all the oxygen and turning into a ferocious, never-ending roar. Flames licked the windows, smoke whirled out of the front door. All around was the sound of crackling, popping, chewing fire, no sign of Alex. Alex! Bad idea. The smoke made me cough, which let in more smoke. I had to get out, but I had to find him. I pulled the pin off the fire extinguisher and squeezed the trigger. If I could control the fire, I might be able to stop the smoke and find Alex. The force blew me backward. The sofa was black with smoke. I picked up the extinguisher again and gave it a feeble squirt while trying not to inhale the thick smoke. I can't do this. I can't do this. I have to try. 10 more seconds. The rush of adrenaline made me feel dizzy and panicked. The ceiling was a vault of fire. Flames dropped into the kitchen and dining room as the burning plaster fell to the floor, smoldering, then running flickers of flame, reaching like demons' fingers for the cabinets and the closets, jumping in between the steel appliances, and all so freaking fast. I'd spent too long staring, paralyzed. I'd die like this, crouched on the ground, breathless, with blackened lungs, not a valiant death, failing to save a stranger. Alex! Alex! He had to be okay. Alex! My shout came out as a rasp. Here, he yelled. He was by the bookshelves. I crunched on glass to reach him. The telescope display box smashed to the floor. Alex and Jade are safe. Go. My eyes streamed. I couldn't breathe. Everything was burning. Smoke billowed all around me. There was no time to think, to run, to get out. I lost sight of him. The cabin groaned and spat like an overweight monster. Lottie! Alex called into the haze. Lottie! I dropped to my stomach on the floor and crawled to his voice. My throat was on fire. My head, my eyes, I couldn't see. Tears streamed, snot streamed. Get a hold of yourself. You are not on fire. Mom's voice said in my head. She was right. I scrabbled my way to the open door. Alex! It came out as choking coughs. And then there was his hand catching hold of mine. He hauled me over his shoulder like a limp rag doll and staggered out. He'd placed me gently under the pine tree where Otis and Jade waited. Tears streamed down Jade's face, leaving snotty trails. I'd done it this time. There'd be no forgiveness, no excuse. I wished I couldn't see the disaster unfolding, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. Don't screw this up, my mother had said. I'd screwed up everything, royally. Jade would never give me another chance. I didn't care about Mom. Billowing smoke mingled with the snow, sending ash everywhere. The fire ran along the garage roof, hopping from one side to another until the whole thing flickered with flames. So much for fireproof door from the garage to the living room. I didn't bother wiping my tears away. I was way past hiding my shame. The wooden frame of the cabin went up like timber, all brittle and dry, and a mighty flame of glory. Smoke was acid. plastic mixed with iron. The sofa, the books, the pictures, the rugs, the cushions, gone. All those photos and memories of Jade's mom, whoosh, gone. Truly up in smoke. I was so stupid, thoughtless. If only Alex hadn't followed me downstairs. If only I hadn't gone to listen to that stupid radio. If only I'd run up as soon as Jade called. If only I hadn't thrown on the stupid pine cones. Shit. I took a deep breath. That's one hell of a big blaze, said Alex. He looked dazed, shell-shocked. He'd saved me like a bloody hero, over the shoulder, fireman's lift, and everything. But why was he even still in there? What the hell were you doing running back in? Getting you, I said, not knowing where to look. His teared-up eyes, his floppy black fringe, or his smeared soot cheekbones. No smiles now. He pushed his hair back from his face and stared at the wreckage, shaking his head. You went in for me? After all of that? I wasn't going to let you die. I choked on the smoke and swallowed. Jade sniffed. It was Dad's favorite place. Her breath came out in shaky sob. Those pine cones exploded, fell all over the rug, and I tried to stop it, to get the fire extinguisher, but it spread so fast, and it was so smoky. I called for help, but I couldn't breathe. It wasn't your fault. It was mine. I squeezed her arm. Thank God you're okay. Everything's destroyed, she murmured. It's like she couldn't quite believe it. The wrath of Oliver would be nothing compared to Mom's. I'm so sorry. It could have started a wildfire. Jade looked at the ashes painting the snow gray. It's a miracle none of those sparks made it to the tree. She sat on her heels and shook her head, taking it all in. Mom always said I was like Dad. She was wrong. I was worse. It was my fault the fire started. Jade could have died. The whole forest could have gone up in flames. I had failed Jade just like Dad failed me. The cabin crumbled. Ash mingled with the falling snow, making it thick and slushy. The stink was awful. We were lucky to be wearing ski stuff, so we didn't freeze to death. My heart dropped. The snow wasn't going to stop. The wind was supposed to get really strong, and no one was supposed to travel. And I was the only one who knew. I looked at their faces. Jade absent-mindedly stroked Otis's head. I think she is in shock, and I didn't even know she was doing it. I tried to hug her, but she tensed. It felt stiff and forced. I folded my arms behind my back. Otis turned his huge puppy eyes to Alex, who was transfixed, watching the cabin slowly burn. Our cabin. One night was all it took for me to ruin everything. We stood not knowing what else to do, but waited for the inevitable, the sound of sirens. With flames crackling that intensely and smoke billowing that high, someone would surely have alerted the emergency services. Even if all the power and cell signals were out for miles, anyone nearby would come to see what was causing it. But there was no one else for miles around. I let that reality sink in as ash continued to stain the snow around us. That is it for now. Yeah, come back for the next part, and I'm probably going to read it pretty darn soon because I need to know what happens.